from University of Ankara and Erfurt. Please.
Thank you very much. So, hello everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today, and I hope you can hear me well. And I'd like to talk to you about a research project we have been working on for around, let's say, 2 years with a group of researchers from different universities in Turkey. So they are from different fields like English language teaching, linguistics, language and literature, and also computer engineering. So we basically investigate the relationship between lexical sophistication, grammatical accuracy, textual cohesion, lexical errors, and writing performance. And to achieve that, we have used different different corpus tools and NLP tools as well. So our ultimate goal is to build a reliable model for automated grading with Turkish, let's say, context. So we all know that grading student essays is always very tiring, it's very time consuming, and on top of it, its reliability is at the same time questionable. So it's a big research project, but today I'll be mainly talking to you about lexical errors and their possible sources, which is the initial phase of our research. So if time allows, I can also give you a hint about how these errors relate to writing quality. So here we go. Overview, let me show it very quickly to you. So background, aim, research details, some results, and then briefly talk to you about our website, TELC, Turkish English Learner Corpus of English, and discussions and implications. All right. So lexical errors are considered major problems in writing by teachers using English as their native language, and those errors, according to what they say, seriously downgrade the lexical sophistication of academic writing by second language users. Ellis also attributes lexical errors to transfer from first language and certain aspects of the target language at the same time, like interlanguage, intralanguage type of errors. And also Jarvis and Ogden, they think cognitive factors also play an important role in first language transfer. In one of the first studies conducted, to investigate lexical errors, Czech students, it was found that they tended to make near synonymy errors, and they use words in wrong context, and they make some structural mistakes the most. And on the whole, if you look at the literature, you can see that, or you may intuitively think that the higher proficiency learners are more likely to make fewer lexical errors, but research indicates that the phenomenon is much more complicated than that. Okay, in Granger's words, who's an important figure in learner corpus research, error analysis is kind of out of favor with most second language acquisition and foreign language teaching circles, according to some researchers, because they think it's fuzzy, unscientific, and unreliable way of approaching learner language. But at the same time, we know that errors are an integral part of interlanguage, and they're as worthy, they're just as worthy of analysis as any other interlanguage aspect. So on the annotation part, which is another difficult, complicated part, learner corpus annotation is a highly time-consuming and a painstaking process. But when the corpus is error tagged, once it's error tagged, the return on investment is huge. So we must admit that error annotation will always contain an element of subjectivity. We also accept that limitation in our analysis. But tagging a learning corpus allows us, at least and at most, to systematize our intuitions. Okay, so in light of previous studies in the literature and considering the potential importance of lexical errors for foreign language education and second language acquisition research in general, In the first phase of our research, we aimed at building an error-tag learning corpus, which we believe is rare in the literature. So exploiting that corpus, we tried to analyze the frequent lexical errors in L1 Turkish, L2 English, but L2 English participants' writings. Additionally, we put some special emphasis on their major sources, those errors' major sources. And last but not least, we also tried to build an easy-to-use corpus website with error tagging and sorting features, which could be used by researchers and also language teachers. So the second phase is not the main focus of today's presentation, but maybe if time allows, I can give you a sneak peek of the second phase of the research. So basically, the relationship between those linguistic features and writing quality or performance in general. Now let me turn to our study, which can be seen at the intersection of learning corpus research and natural language processing. So part of this research, like I said before, is building an error-tag learning corpus, which will be available through Sketch Engine, also on our own website, TELC, although it's not online yet. So it's going to be in the following months. So far we had 369 texts from 222 participants. We had some background information about those participants, and which will be available at the same time on the learner website, Learning Corpus website. And they are texts at a tertiary level, let's say, written by tertiary level university students. So research questions, partly, what are the most frequent lexical errors in L1 Turkish, L2 English students writing? And what are their major sources? And our specific focus will be on to what extent does first language transfer have an effect on those lexical errors? And on top of it, to what extent can these errors predict the writing performance of second language English users? So, yeah. So we used Hemcho and Schmidt's error taxonomy for our error analysis, because it's one of the most comprehensive according to our observations in the literature. And we used the main headings while coding, because we were thinking that the corpus will be mainly be used by language instructors and learners. So we wanted to make it more user-friendly and also pedagogically more convenient. But at the same time, categorizing those errors using all the subheadings was kind of a tough job. At the same time, it was very vague. The difference between the categories were very vague. So we went on to use the main headings only. So after our initial tagging attempts, we kind of adapted the taxonomy according to our learning corpus and also considering the Turkish context. And we added 2 more categories. So we think that it's in the nature of error analysis research. So we had collocational errors due to first language transfer and collocational errors due to preposition. They seem to abound in our learning corpus. So that we follow this tagging scheme. So we had calibration meetings working on sample text. We tagged the student essays in pairs. So we kept the errors only we agreed on. So we had some double checking tags. So in second, we did it in second rounds. And we had standardization meetings through which we also built an error guide, which will be online with the corpus website at the same time. So normally, I would ask participants' opinions for the most frequent lexical errors before I present our findings, but I'll skip that part because of time constraints today. So let me first show you what language teachers and experts think about the most frequent lexical errors are in second language writing. This is a intuitive error frequency from Turkey, the teachers' opinions. So they think second language users, they tend to make collocation errors more. And this is from Germany, and you can see a very similar trend between experts, intuitive frequency, let's say, error frequency ratings. So different first language backgrounds, but very similar trends in intuitive error frequencies. Okay, so let me also present the results of our research. So we have tagged, like I said, 369 tags so far, and we detected more than 3,000 lexical errors. And the most common errors are related to semantics. So let me also show you this pie chart. So when we look at the picture, also the numbers. So when we look at the picture as a whole, around 80% of the errors are semantic errors and 20% are formal ones. So which we can say in line with earlier research. And a special attention is also needed for the collocational errors. If all the collocation related errors are taken into account, we see that collocations due to prepositions and first language transfer collocation errors. So if we combine them, we see that around 37% of the errors are collocation based. So which is also, if you may remember from my previous slide, which is also in line with expert intuitions or opinions. When we analyze the first language effect, an important finding for our study, I believe. So our observation is errors due to L1, collocational transfer, and misformation errors make up like 12% of all the errors. By misformation, I mean borrowings, coinage, and calque. But if you combine the errors due to prepositions with that number, because when you explore the errors, they are very likely to stem from first language, from participants' native language. The percentage is around 25. So this makes the possible L1 effect more obvious and makes it worth investigating further, I believe. This is also in line with early research. So here is a preview presenting our corpus and sketch engine interface. So you can explore collocations, clusters, you can compare collocations. It's like built-in features of sketch engine. You can create a word list, and also on top of it, maybe an extra feature with our coding scheme. You can filter the error types and look for more specific mistakes and investigate their possible reasons in more details. If your line of research is lexical errors. You can also see some examples from our learning corpus. And like I mentioned earlier, we are also building a corpus website. So this is just a sample of the front page, the dashboard. So using our corpus website, you can analyze the errors, obviously. You can tag errors with the built-in coding module. So it's possible to further tag some essays. And you can explore statistical output, very basic ones you can see on your screen right now. And also you can see the details of our research. So if you look at in more details, again on the website, you can compare error-coded text side by side. You can highlight the errors of your interest maybe, and you can see some details like dispersion of part of speech, and also number of errors, as you can see. And you can also compare scores by human raters and scores generated by a score prediction model that we as a team created. So discussion part, I think I'm running out of time, but I'll make it fast. So when we look at the literature, we see that the collocational and sense relation problems seem to abound in German and French learner language. and also learners using Japanese and Korean as their first language, they appear to overuse prepositions, just like in our corpus data. So we know that all those languages have agglutinative nature and they have postpositions rather than prepositions, and they have syntactically similar structures. And some researchers say that L1 effect is not obvious in collocation mistakes, but some others claim the opposite. So our data shows a significant effect of L1 on collocation problems, particularly when preposition errors are included. And the finding about style errors are also unique to our data. Okay, some tentative implications. Do I still have time, or?
We're at 15 minutes, so if you just want to wrap up like with one last slide.
I'll try to wrap up. Thank you very much. So advanced second language English users, they seem to confuse words with similar senses. In other words, a confusion of sense relations. So we believe it could be a clear indication of a certain interlanguage stage, regardless of first language backgrounds. In other words, they can be called developmental errors. And shared syntactic patterns in different languages may trigger similar errors, like prepositions in English. And L1 transfer still plays an important role in the interlanguage of even advanced L2 English users. And L1 transfer and developmental errors of students from a non-Indo-European language like Turkish, we believe can shed light on like current second language acquisition hypotheses like usage-based models. And more importantly, maybe the psycholinguistic reality of these errors and also the possible effect of first language at the cognitive level needs further investigation, in our opinion. That's going to be our next step in our analysis. I think I should stop here.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh. Thanks, Hakan.